everybody, my name is Dani. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're looking at r/Today I F'd Up. Today I F'd up by accidentally revealing my secret identity to my entire office. So this actually happened earlier today, and I'm still reeling from the sheer embarrassment of it all. For context, I work in a pretty average office setting, but my colleagues and I like to spice things up with themed dress-up days every now and then. This week, we all agreed to come in dressed as our favorite superheroes. Naturally, I was super excited to participate. I've always been a huge fan of superheroes, and I have this awesome Batman costume I've been itching to wear ever since I got it for Halloween last year. So I woke up early, got dressed in my full Bat regalia, and even went as far as doing the full Batman voice to complete the persona. I was ready to show up to work and save the day. As soon as I walked into the office, I could tell that something was off. People were staring at me with a mixture of confusion, amusement, and just a hint of terror. I figured they were just in awe of my Batman transformation and didn't think much of it. My manager approached me with a stifled laugh and asked, "Hey, Batman, did you happen to check your email this morning?" I replied, still in character, "Email? Batman has no need for such trivial matters."
What are you? I'm Batman.
My manager then explained that there had been a last-minute email sent out last night, postponing the dress-up day to next week due to an important client meeting scheduled for today. My face went beet red as I realized I was standing in the middle of the office, dressed as Batman with zero context to justify it. To make matters worse, the important client arrived just in time to witness my embarrassment. They were surprisingly cool about it, even joking that they felt safer with Batman around. Still, I spent the rest of the day hiding in my cubicle, answering calls in my best Bruce Wayne voice, and praying for this sweet release of the end of the workday. Now I'm sitting at home in full Batman attire, contemplating how I'm going to show my face at the office on Monday. That's wonderful. You know, honestly, if I was that client, I think I would be more inclined to do business with your company because it seems like it's a fun place. And really, your company had to know that this client was coming more than the night before in advance. Like, I find it highly unlikely that a client would just kind of pop up out of nowhere. So they really should have gotten the word out at least 24 hours in advance. Still, amazing story. Today I F'd up by shaving my balls before flying. About a year ago, I was visiting my mom while she was working in Hawaii. She's a flight attendant for some billionaire and has to stay in Hawaii for weeks on end. A colleague of hers was also staying at the same hotel. We went to breakfast together, but since my flight was impending, I left breakfast early to leave and get showered and packed. My mom still had some industry talk to be had with her colleagues, so I told her I'll call her up to come to the room when I'm ready. During the time I was in Hawaii, I had noticed that my balls were itchy because of my pubes. I didn't want to be uncomfortable for my 5-hour flight to California, so as I showered, I grabbed my razor and shaved my balls. Not super unusual, but it doesn't happen all the time. As I was toweling off, I had a big red spot on the towel, and I looked down to see blood streaming down my leg. It freaked me out for a second until I saw that I nicked my ball sack. I thought, no big deal, I'll just put some tissue on it, as I would for my face if I cut it while I was shaving. I was totally wrong. My nutsack continued to bleed liberally as I desperately tried to stop it, compressing it with a lot of toilet paper. It kept bleeding a lot.
Oh no!
I found that pinching the skin, then putting tissue on it seemed to be the way to go. But when I stopped pinching it, the blood continued to flow uncontrollably. All I could do was stand in the bathroom with one hand to get ready, the other pinching my ball sack so it wouldn't bleed everywhere. The entire time, I'm getting more and more desperate for time to catch my flight. So here I am, in my mom's hotel room for her work trip, in a rush to catch my flight, with an uncontrollably bleeding nutsack. My mom is still at breakfast with her colleague. I don't know what to do except call her while she's still at breakfast and ask if she has any Band-Aids. She asked if I'm okay and instructed me to look into her toiletry bag. I said of course, but as the mother she is, she continued to ask if everything was all right. I insisted everything is okay and said I'll be ready in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I was pinching my nutsack, which stopped the bleeding. But as I applied the bandage, the bleeding started again, completely soiling the bandage and continuing the flow of blood. At this point, I became desperate. For small cuts, I like to use super glue to remedy them. It was originally invented by the military in the Vietnam War, after all. I called my mom again, stupidly asking if she had any super glue in her bag, or if it's possible to ask the front desk if they have any. She sounded concerned and began asking more questions. To cease the interrogation, I explained to her that there are certain moments in a man's life where he needs to make sure that he's comfortable, particularly before a 5-hour plane ride, and that I was slightly less than careful, and between everything, I had made a mistake. And that I'm bleeding and I need either some super glue or more Band-Aids. My mom ended up coming to the room. She had brought more Band-Aids from the front desk. She suggested taking a maxi pad to line my underwear for the flight on top of the Band-Aid. I took that advice and it felt like wearing a front diaper. Luckily, at that point, pinching the part where I was bleeding from seemed to have slowed it down, and a big Band-Aid seemed to cover/absorb the blood when I stopped pinching it. I got to the airport, walked through uncomfortably but without difficulty, checking every now and then that I wasn't bleeding to death. My dad met me on the other side. We went to dinner and had a laugh about it, but I still had to check to make sure I wasn't bleeding. Thanks for taking care of me, Mom. Love you. That is so embarrassing. I can't imagine having to ask your mom for help in a situation like that. Commenters are pointing out that this sounds pretty similar to when a girl suddenly gets her period out of nowhere and desperately needs help managing it. So OP can sympathize with their struggle now, I guess. Today I effed up by eating applesauce every day for years. A few years ago, I was prescribed omeprazole, hope I'm pronouncing that right, to treat acid reflux. I have a lot of difficulty swallowing pills, so I followed the directions on the bottle that say you can open up the capsule and mix it into applesauce. I did this every day for a long time and actually grew to love applesauce. Different flavors, different textures. I became an aficionado of applesauce. I love it and would eat at least one serving per day, even if it wasn't with my medicine. I started developing other extreme symptoms like chronic diarrhea.
I have a bad case of diarrhea.
I was diagnosed with chronic pancreatitis and put on a FODMAP diet. This diet is very restrictive and it blocks out basically everything I normally eat. But I thought I'd try the diet and got absolutely no relief. I knew it was not perfect. I often cheated on the diet, but it didn't explain how bad my symptoms were. No doctor found any reason I should still be having these issues as bad as I was. And I went over a year without a single solid bowel movement. We tried stopping omeprazole, but that didn't work. Tried other diets. Nothing worked. Finally, one day, I decided to research the FODMAP diet a bit further, to really try to buckle down and really get serious about cutting absolutely everything out that might be causing this. I decided to use a different resource than what my doctor provided me because it only listed a few things to not eat. Immediately, the first thing on the list of foods to avoid is apples. I thought, maybe it's just alphabetical. But no, apples are packed with fructose and polysorbitol, which can exacerbate IBS and pancreatitis symptoms. Within 2 days of abstaining from applesauce, I had my first solid poop in over a year. I finally am starting to feel somewhat well again, although I feel the damage to my bowels is irreversible. Who would have guessed? It seems like OP is saying that apples were not on the original list of foods to avoid on the FODMAP diet they tried first, but if they were and OP continued to eat applesauce every single day, like, that's on you, bro. Like, I'm so sorry you had to go through this. It sounds so painful, but I'm glad that you finally figured out what it is and can go forward cutting apples out. That was r/today I effed up. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time. Bye!